So thank you to everybody who's here from my Toastmasters circle of friends. Part of what I want to focus on today is actually the RSVPMaker software, which is part of what I use for my Toastmasters setup. So that's what handles the basic calendar and scheduling and the event templates for meetings. But of course, most of those events wind up being, full of little specialty Toastmasters widgets to represent the different meeting roles and such. And so part of what I want to show you is how our RSVPMaker can be used outside of that context, and but also how you can use it events that aren't just regular meetings. That you can do a special house, you can do a special event, a special workshop. You can build up a mailing list of people who go out to and alert to your events. You can register them, and you can do it all through your own website rather than kind of running back and forth between, Eventbrite and Meetup and MailChimp and all these different tools. You can centralize it more in the WordPress dashboard. You can manage it according to a common setup. And then when you have events that you want to promote, you can turn them into email invitations to that event. Or you can take a blog post you've created. You can assemble a few of these things together and make up a newsletter. And so I'm hoping that you will not only learn something that's useful for those of you who are from the Toastmasters background in that context, but how you might be able to use it with other business ventures you're involved in, nonprofits you're involved in. And maybe the next time I hold one of these events, I'll have a few more people who are with me today. And they have a board meeting to go to. It's not a Toastmasters board meeting because they're not a Toastmasters club. Wayne, can you tell us a little bit about Ortega River Club and how the website fits in and why it's important?
Right. I am the vice president of the Ortega River Club. We're located in Jacksonville, Florida. We're a member-owned, member-operated, not-for-profit social club. And our charter goes back to 1903. In 2012, we needed some software where we could send our many events each month out, but we also needed the software to be allow the members to respond to that event. And so we began the RSVPMaker, which has worked out great for us. We'll fill the calendar up with events and fill it out for the year. And a lot of our events require the members to RSVP for, let's say, when the chef's cooking dinner, we want to know how many is going to show up. And a lot of times, if we want, if the member needs to make a choice, we can open up the notes section and say, please let us know in the notes what you prefer to have. But many of our events are that way, and we do Christmases, we celebrate everything you celebrate around here, don't we? This is Janet, by the way. She is the webmaster. She handles the RSVP every day. But for us, we've adapted, I guess, what was built for Toastmasters, and it's the core of this club, a very old club, the second oldest club in Jacksonville. And so David has been great. The few times a problem pops up, he's on it and it's fixed within a day. And we really couldn't operate our club without RSVPMaker.
All right. Well, good enough. I'll let you go off to your board meeting, and I'll chat with these folks. You got your private demo the other day, and you saw the recorded video I shared. So hopefully that was helpful. But
David, thank you for all you do for the club.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So again, actually, it wasn't invented for Toastmasters. RSVPMaker was originally invented for a political campaign, which is why for years the RSVP button was red, white, and blue. Although you could change that. And it's actually a little bit easier now to change the button if you need to. But I want to take a few minutes to just go through how you create an event. It's not necessarily a Toastmasters event, or at least it's not a regular meeting event. It could be really anything. And also how you can create this kind of email newsletter that I spoke about. And I have a few examples of those newsletters to show you. So this is actually the Ortega River Club. So they're doing dinner and dancing. I don't think this one has an RSVP button on it, but it does have the links to add this to your calendar. Showing my time zone is a lot more relevant when you're doing something like a webinar or an online meeting. Then it becomes really important. And they can include all their content about what a wonderful event this is going to be. A very different application is Florida Bull news site, and for the editor for years has been trying to get to the bottom of certain things related to 9/11. So that's what the story is here. So he'll send this out with a picture from the story, the first few paragraphs, and then a read more button and a few headlines where you can link to see what the latest stories are. And some of you are at this event because you responded to an email that looked something like this, that talked about this demo that I was going to be doing, and then included a video. And this effect here actually is something that I put a lot of work into, because you can't just email out the same YouTube embed code that you use on your website. It won't work for various reasons having to do with web security. So what we have to do is grab the image, the preview image for that video, and add the little overlay play button so that people see that it's a video. And if I clicked on this link, it would take me off to YouTube and I could watch the video. But let me go through how you set some of this stuff up in RSVPMaker. And I'm going to do that from the dashboard of a demo, a website. So I can come into RSVP events and go to add new, or I can go up to the top here, say new RSVP event. And actually, I also have a bunch of templates set up. So that so I don't start from scratch, maybe we'll use a template here. So it's either going to give me a blank page, or it's going to give me a page based on a template. We'll do the template one. And some of you from the Toastmasters context have worked with these templates, where it's a template for a Toastmasters meeting. But again, it could be anything. And so this is popping it up, and it's right now it's just showing today's date. But I can set up whatever event date this is going to be. So this is going to be 2 p.m. Maybe it's meant to be after school, and it's in person, so we don't need all the time zone stuff. But these are all options you can set. When you are doing something that's an online event, it's a good idea to display the time zone. And also there's a time zone conversion function. Another thing that I put a lot of work into. So if the time zone conversion function is turned on, if somebody views that, if they view a New York or a Florida event and they're actually based in the UK, it's immediately going to pop up what the translation would be into London time. So it's able to detect that based on some information it gathers from the browser, or at least most of the time it can detect it. And if it guesses wrong, you can change it. You could also have events that were in different time zones. So there's someplace down here where I could change that on a per event basis. And then from there, this is pretty much like any your homepage or a blog post you might create. So if I want to add a new image, I can upload an image from my computer. And I don't know what image I'm going to find at the moment. Let's say, sure, I have something in my downloads folder. So if I want to include this, I can upload it, and it's going to be included in the body of my event here. And I could take that one out, change the description around to be whatever it needs to be to tell the story of this event. So that pop-up that showed the date and the time and some other parameters you can change, well, that shows up initially if I open a draft post, something that hasn't been published. But if I closed it and I want to get it back, I can click this button over here. This is RSVP event options. And then from here, I can customize things like the form, the messages on the form. The Ortega River Club uses the registration deadline because they're signing people up for a dinner and they want to tell the chef what to make for dinner. So they want to make sure that everybody gets their orders in by a certain day, or their registrations in by a certain date. Down here is a section where you can add additional fields to the form, or say I was doing an online event and phone number isn't relevant, then I can just say that I want to delete that one. There is a widget for where people can put in the names of guests, and that can be included or not included depending on what your needs are. And then we have confirmation and reminder messages. So some of you hopefully got a reminder message saying that you signed up for this event and here's when it starts and here's the Zoom link. So that was set up through here. So the initial message people get is the confirmation. And this right now is the default based on my settings for the whole site. So everything by default says thank you and nothing else. If I want to customize it for this event, I can now I have the confirmation just for event number 311. And here is where I would click to put in Zoom details or directions to the physical location, whatever it is that you might want to communicate to people. And then we can create a reminder message based on that that's going to go out the specified number of hours before the event. So this is all set up to work like clockwork. And then there is also a pricing section. So if this is an event that you're going to charge for, you can collect money via Stripe, which is basically a credit card processing service, or via PayPal. Either one of those will work. And so on the report that you run of how many people have RSVP'd, you'll also be able to see who has paid and who you might still need to remind to pay for that event. So those are some of the options you can set. And then if we publish this and go out and view it, we'll see the changes we've made. Now say I want to send out an event invitation that includes all this same information. Well, I can go up top here to New, RSVP email, and copy event to email. And the same sort of thing works for a blog post where you can copy that content into the body of the post. And I get it in this little template here for email that has a little bit of a colored background just to kind of frame the content as it comes off. It makes it look a little bit more professional. But I could, right now it's just a plain gray frame here, or framing color. I could change that to be something else. Or I can set up a template, just like we have meeting templates, we have templates for email, I could set up a template that is certain colors, has the logo up top, whatever, so that that's the standard template that gets wrapped around whatever my mention is, whatever my message is, excuse me. So if I update this as of right now, this is what it would look like as a preview of the email. And if I want to send a copy of this off to David at RSVPmaker.com, and I recommend doing this before you send it out to hundreds of people, or certainly thousands of people. It's a good idea to send yourself a test to make sure it comes through looking okay. So I'll do that here. So this is going to be a preview. Should show up here after just a minute. There we go. And so we see pretty much just what we saw in that preview there. Now I can also send out to just my website members. I think just about everybody here is coming from a Toastmasters context. So if you're trying to send out to all your club members, and all your club members have an account on the system, then you can send to that membership list by checking there. You can also have a separate email list that you build up. And when people RSVP to register for your events, you can have a checkbox in there that says, would you also like to sign up for my email list? So I can let you know about my future events. So that's a way that we try and build up a connection with people so that those first-time guests become repeat guests, become members of your organization, or in a business context, become customers. So once I built up my general email list, I can send to that. Or I could have lists within that. Maybe I have a list of VIPs, and then I have the general list that goes out to just everybody. Another thing that can be handy is to send out an email to all the people who signed up for a certain event. So again, maybe I showed how you could automate that, send out an automated reminder, but maybe it's a conference you're organizing and you just got a new exciting guest speaker. You want to let everybody know about that. You could send out something to just the people who've registered for the upcoming conference. Or after the event, you can send out some bundle of goodies that you promised. So if you did a webinar, like I'm doing here, after the event, I can send out to all the people who registered, including maybe some people who didn't actually show up for the live event. I can send them out the recording. I'm not going to do either of those things right now. There are a bunch of other options too. I can do fancy things like and send out something to my general email list, but I can exclude the people who RSVP'd for the event because I don't want to nag the people who already said yes. Or I can send to just the people who haven't registered, or I can send to just the people who have registered as makes sense for the particular situation. So there's a lot here you can do to stay in touch with people. That's the kind of the whole point. And let's see. Let me go to a Toastmasters Club context. So this is the Online Presenters Toastmasters Club that is meeting this evening, if you'd like to stop by. And if I want to send out a replay of a video, well, we post our videos on a regular basis to our blog. So this is the replay of the video. There's a little bit of an explanation of what's going on there. You know, probably a better example would be a special workshop. Well, I'm going to use this post. Again, I'm going to do copy post to email. free from here, I can edit it further, or I can just go out and view what I have so far. And so this then is now loaded in the email version of my template. And again, this isn't the same YouTube player that you would get on your website. It's a version that is going to work in email. So I can send that out. So these are a number of things that I think you could find useful in this context. I mean, also, we have RSVPs turned on for all our events. And so any event that is published on our website, I can look at who has signed up. Let's say, I don't know how many guests we have for tonight. This might be embarrassing. Let's say, I think we have at least a few guests signed up for tonight. Oh, Lewis is actually coming to us as a guest speaker. And he's a good speaker. I've seen him other places. But this is how you can keep track of who has registered for an event. We ran a webinar contest recently that we did a lot of publicity around. And I think we had like 40 people registered for that. And so again, as we built up that list, I was sending out reminder messages, make sure you come, make sure you tell your friends. And so these are some of the ways that we try and build up an audience. Let's see, I've been talking for a long time, so I think I should take a pause for any questions. Let's see, Anne asked, do we create a page to house the database on our website? I don't know if I know exactly what you're asking. There is, I mean, WordPress itself runs on top of a database. So every blog post, every event is a database entry. The email list is a database table that is associated with your specific website. So there's all sorts of database activity going on behind the scenes. Is that what you're asking about, Anne, or is it something else? Are you able to unmute, or do you want to?
Okay. So essentially, I'm just wondering where the list is kept. Do we create a page in order to collect the names? Because I'm doing a membership campaign. I'm doing advertising, actually, and I'm trying to collect the names of the people who respond to the ad.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think of every event, certainly every special event, can serve as what marketers would call a landing page. Okay. So it's a page that you're driving people to from your advertising or your organic social media. You're trying to get people to that page to sign up for your event. As I said, you can have a check mark on that registration form that says add me to your email list. You can also have a separate sign up for my email list page on your website, or in some of the layouts, you can have a sidebar. Let's see, maybe I can show that on the, I mentioned this Florida Bulldog. We might actually get a pop-up message asking us to sign up for the email list. But it's, I'm sorry. Yeah, there it is. So every time somebody new or somebody who hasn't been there for a while comes to the website, they'll get this pop-up encouraging them to sign up for the email list. I can show you where to turn that on. There is also this form that you can embed in a sidebar or someplace else on the site. So, obviously he's it's a nonprofit news site. He's basically trying to keep journalism alive at a time when journalism isn't doing so well overall. Let's say, and I could show you on the this is the online presenter site. In this section that says RSVP newsletters and notifications, I can go into RSVPMaker email list. And there is something here that allows me to manually add emails one at a time, or I can import a list. Now, in general, we operate according to something that's called permission-based marketing. Right. So you're supposed to make sure that you really have permission of the person you're emailing to send them messages. And there's a process where they have to confirm that, yes, it was me that signed up for the email list. It wasn't somebody, it wasn't my mom who signed me up for Toastmasters when I really don't want to do Toastmasters, that kind of thing. And it's funny, even with that, people will forget that they signed up for the email list, and they may mark your email as spam. And I work behind the scenes with an email provider called Postmark, and so part of what you're paying for when you pay for a Toastmasters website is covering that subscription. And so they're watching to make sure that you're not abusing your email privileges, basically. And if you are, then they're gonna spank you. I have been able to go to them and say, I know this person clicked on the reported as spam link by mistake, and they want to get back on the list. So I can do that every once in a while. But if I was doing it all the time, they would get suspicious that I really want to spam these people, and I'm trying to work around the rules. So and every email that's sent out includes something for people to unsubscribe from the list. So that's kind of more the polite way for them to say that they don't want to hear from you anymore. So, all those things are things that I've worked on trying to make as smooth as possible. Now, I actually there is an integration also with MailChimp, and I used that for a number of years. But then I realized I was doing everything within WordPress, partly because of ego, because that's the way I wanted to do it. And that's the way but it was also something that was more productive for me than trying to reproduce the content in the MailChimp email, formatting system, rather than trying to create a link over there to the blog post or the event or whatever and connect it. It helps for me to have everything all in one place. But if you use MailChimp and you like it for other purposes, that is another one that's supported. And so you can basically use the tools that I was showing you as the front end to MailChimp, and then they will handle the distribution to the big email list, and they will handle the spam complaints and all those sorts of things. And it's the same thing there. If they get too many spam complaints, eventually they're going to shut down your account. So don't spam people. I know you're all good people. You want to reach the people who want to be reached, but you have to deal with those issues, and you have to deal with a certain amount of suspicion about all that stuff. So I'm sorry, I spent a long time on answering one question in a really long-winded way.
Thank
so I apologize.
I appreciate that.
Any other questions? Or
I have a question. I'm sitting here looking at the actual template, and it's got 4 tabs: SEO, readability, schema, and social. It's using terms under SEO like SEO, slug, meta description. I mean, are there other videos out there to tell us about this stuff?
Well, on the WordPress for Toastmasters site, I put out a whole video course, and it talks, I think the last installment is something that talks about SEO a little bit. But I can open that up and we can look at it together.
Where can we find that video?
If you go to, let's see, what is it? WP for Toastmasters. I think it's just video course. So WP for Toastmasters is the WordPress for Toastmasters site. That's really where all the documentation is. So Toastmost is where the actual websites live, but WordPress for Toastmasters is where I have most of the documentation. And I believe it's the last one that talks about search engine optimization basics. But I can walk through some of that stuff.
Is it critical that we have that down before we actually do something?
No, and I don't fuss with it infinitely. I mean, there are people whose whole job is to do nothing but search engine optimization, particularly for big companies. So you don't necessarily have to obsess over that. I did turn on a plugin called Yoast search engine optimization for all the Toastmost websites so that you could do some of the basic stuff for that. But and honestly, I don't like the way it turns my title into this long skinny column here. But I think that's partly because of Yoast. But if I go in here to edit, let's see. And I scroll down to the bottom of the blog post. This is the Yoast SEO section. And actually you can see that it has this frowny face icon here that tells me that I have not spent a lot of time trying to optimize this one. I have for some others. What it wants you to do is put in a focus key phrase. And it might be a little bit happier with that. I think it changed from red to orange. And then down here is where I can see a preview of how this would show up in Google search. So that's approximately how it would show up in Google search. And one of the things that I do spend probably more time on often is this tab that says social. And this helps control how your content will look if you share it to Facebook or you share it to Twitter. And I'm pretty sure that LinkedIn also uses the content that you've specified here for Facebook. I believe they use the same coding scheme that's semi-web standard. Twitter does it a little bit differently. But for both of them, all I did was go through and put in this preview image to help make that show up a little bit more cleanly. Otherwise, when you share to social media, sometimes it won't grab any image at all, or it will grab kind of a random image on the page, which may not reflect how you want that to be shown there.
So how do you share from there?
Well, I mean, usually, well, I'll show you how it would work for this as it is right now. And again, I hadn't, ideally, I might have taken time to customize more things, but usually the way I share is just to copy and paste into Facebook or whatever program. So if I paste this on a blank line in here, it does come up with this preview image with the title taken from the post. Again, you can, there was something in WordPress where you could customize this. Sometimes the title you want to show up in social media might be slightly different from what appears on the website. But that's one way you can customize that way.
Now, where did you get that link from?
Well, I just copied it from the browser bar up here. There are also buttons that you can display on your site. And I believe well, let's see, look, since I have this open.
Oh, I see what you're talking about, the copy paste.
Yeah. Here, you can also have links that are displayed on your website where when I click here, this should give me a preview of his blog post. So, I mean, I think the website should be kind of yourself and be in control of how things are presented. But then you want to go out in social media and share some of this content to bring people to your website. Because if you don't have something that drives them there, they don't tend to just if you build it, they will come. That doesn't work out too often. Let's see. So I don't think I actually wanted to share that. But those are some things that you can definitely take advantage to spread your influence. But a lot of people talk about social media as kind of like operating on territory that you're not in control of. You're kind of renting rather than buying, whereas the website is your own thing. And this is where you have issues where periodically the social networks will decide to change how they want to do things. A different billionaire buys the company, that kind of thing comes up, or just some of the methods for publicizing your organization or your business on Facebook that used to be free. Well, now they don't want to charge for them more. So the rules keep changing all the time. So, but still, you can go out on social media because that's where the people are, and you can go out on LinkedIn because that's where your professional contacts are, and you want them to know that you're in Toastmasters and that they can come over and take advantage of that. So I said I wasn't going to make this all about Toastmasters, but these are tools that you can use to publicize your business or a different nonprofit or a personal project. Lots of different things. So Douglas or Nick, do you guys have a question? Is this useful? I hope. Okay.
I'm just trying to get an idea of what can be done. Right now, we're using Outlook distribution lists because we're internal to MD Anderson.
Okay.
But what I would like to do is to get more and more functionality to work from the website.
Okay.
Because we are having people reach that age at which they retire, and then it's harder for them to use any corporate email.
Sure.
And
so you, it's not a community club, but people who retire would still be able to be members if they want to be?
That they can be members, but they don't get MD Anderson email addresses.
Right. Sure.
So communication with them, and they can't send to an Outlook email address from an external email.
Okay. And there are also in the, let's see, I guess you guys aren't using Toastmost, right? Or are you? I think Lonnie set up the web hosting herself.
Yes.
But there is a function where you can have email lists built into the website. So at Online Presenters, one of my clubs, I can write to op@toastmost.org, and that will get sent to the whole members list. Or I can write to op-officers@toastmost.org, and it'll go to the whole officers list. So you can set up email lists like that that are associated with the website rather than corporate email. So
Right.
that might be useful to you.
Yes, and other information like tracking mentors and so forth and mentees. I'd like to move as much as possible to the website, just because, you know, as we have the more experienced members retiring, we want to retain their expertise and help.
All right, well, great. And, you know, what, you know, I mean, I always welcome feedback too, if there are things that are missing or that don't work the way you want them to, you know, let me know, and we can brainstorm. And, you know, you essentially have Lonnie on your side, that she knows how to get stuff out of me too. So,
Okay.
because she's helped me out as well. So. All right, well, maybe we'll wrap this for today. I thank all of you for tuning in, and I will send out a recording if you have other questions along the way. Or was there does somebody want to ask a question before I wrap? Or
one quick question, and that is trying to get a handle on how far I can go with this. I'm Nick Almasi, by the way, Vice President of Education, Toast Notables, Toastmasters.
Okay.
We're in District 62.
Oh, okay. 62 has been good to me. So
when you work with a web provider, web hosting, and that kind of thing, I like to have a handle on how far I can go, as in how much storage do I have at my disposal? How many blogs can I post? And I've been uploading things, and I've been blogging quite a bit. And I've been wondering, had a feeling in the back of my mind, am I ever going to reach a limit that I shouldn't go past?
okay. Well, maybe I should be setting more limits, but I haven't up to this point. The only thing that there is a limit on is for the email with the basic Toastmaster subscription. I believe I've said it's like 500 emails per month, and that seems to be adequate for everybody pretty much so far. Again, I support the District 62 website, and
Right.
you know, they're paying me more money to be able to handle a bigger distribution list. And you know, people give me a hard time about the fact that there's a fee associated with this at all when you get free toast for free. But just for comparison, the Ortega River Club pays me $1,000 a year just for support. I don't even host the website for them, but they just wanted to have, and I have a similar relationship with a guy who runs Florida Bulldog, even though that's a nonprofit. You know, he's had the experience of, I've got this weird error message, and I go to the web host, and they try and explain it to me, and they're speaking some language I don't understand, and so I'm sort of in the middle to make sure that he can focus on telling great news stories and doing wonderful journalism, and you know, I help him iron out the technical details. And we actually we had been using MailChimp for that one and moved it over to the Postmark solution, which is more similar to what I'm doing for you guys. And I haven't really explained it, but Postmark is an email delivery service that it started out as being only transactional messages. So things like order confirmations or maybe RSVP registration confirmations. They do, but they added the capability to also send out broadcasts. So bulk email, newsletters, promotions, those sorts of things. And again, they're keeping an eye on me and everybody, you know, who I'm supporting, to make sure that we're not abusing the email list. So obviously, if you want to know a limit, yeah, if I get lots of complaints that you're sending out spam, then then we might have to have a discussion. So don't do that. You know, we worked out a lot of details to be able to send pretty high lists, and you know, I do have, you know, I think it's like 1,600 on just on the WordPress for Toastmasters list. The Broward Florida Bulldog list is also quite large. The Ortega River Club, I think, only has a few hundred members, but they send to them multiple times per month, announcing different dinners, dances, and other events. All right. So again, I'm gonna wrap for now, but please feel free to reach out to me with other questions and let me know how I can help.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
you.
David.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.